Welcome to the Real Estate Jam Session. If you want to become a real estate investor and build your business from scratch, this is a video for you today. I've got Dustin Heiner. Dustin is a podcaster. He does Master Passive Income. He puts a show out every week, so you're going to want to make sure you check that out. But he comes on today and talks about how he built his business from when he got fired to investing in property and creating this incredible life for himself and his family. So it's a really good story. He'll give us all the do's and don'ts and all his peaks and valleys and failures and all the good things that he learned through this whole process. So make sure you tune in today. Also, if you're new to this channel, my name is Joe Killinger. I've been a real estate entrepreneur for 20 some years, and I've been a founder, an investor, and a broker. And I come on these shows to really kind of give you what has worked well for us and what we have failed at. And so we give you a lot of insights to really help you build your path to success. And I also ask guests to come on and we go through their peaks and valleys and all their failures and successes. And really, it's really designed to help you become a really successful real estate investor. So make sure you tune in today. And if you haven't done so, make sure you subscribe and give this video a like. Thank you for tuning into the Real Estate Jam Session. I've got a great guest today for it that's really going to walk us through how to become an astute new real estate investor. Dustin Heiner, he's a founder of at Master Passive Income. Dustin, thank you for coming on today.
Oh man, Joseph, thank you so much for having me on the show. I love just talking about and just sharing with people that anybody can literally do this. It's so great when you literally can quit your job. I like the term successfully unemployed, but being able to quit and not work for somebody else. So yeah, thank you so much for having me on the show.
Yeah, I think it's important because, you remember your first investment. Remember those first few sleepless nights going, what the hell did I do? And so, our goal with this is to really help somebody that wants to become a real estate investor not to have to go through that. Because in the end, you do your due diligence up front. It really wasn't necessary. It earned our first investment, probably ended up being one of our best. And, because we were so afraid to do it, we just made sure everything was, I's were dotted, T's were crossed, everything was strong. And so, but I think, I want to start with hearing about how you got started, but do save us for the end of the video one of your top tips, okay? One of your top tips that we can really help everybody with. But I think, Dustin, let's start with how did you get started?
Yeah, so I've always been entrepreneurial in my life. Growing up, I've always had my dad, he had a business. My mom and dad got divorced, and my stepdad also had a business as well. So I was entrepreneurial. I had a paper route when I was 13 years old, riding a bike with the newspapers and throwing the papers and banging the garage door at 5 a.m., waking people up. So I did that. I had a graphic and website design company. I had a skateboard manufacturing business, a pizzeria, convenience store. I had all these other things to try to get out of working for somebody else. But I was always taught, just like everybody else, we're taught, go to school, get good grades, then go to college, get in $100,000 worth of debt, get good grades, and then get a job. And I call it a job because you're living just over broke. But then you retire when you're 65 years old. And I thought, that's just, I don't like that. So I started doing other things. But at the same time, I bought one rental property and I thought, this is great. I don't do anything and I make money. But I got to tell you a quick story, Joseph, of what catapulted me, the catalyst to get me into investing in real estate. Now, I was working at the county in California, Fresno County. I was doing IT work, regular 9-to-5 job, pretty secure and everything. And so I'm doing all these other things and I'm trying to figure out how to get out a job. And then my wife started having kid after kid. Eventually we had 4 kids. And remember, I'm working this 9-to-5 job. And after my wife had our 4th child, I go on paternity leave. Now that's where the dad stays home and bonds with the baby, changes poopy diapers and all that sort of stuff. And after about a week or two of being on the paternity leave, I go back to work. And that week that I get back to work, I get a call from my boss's secretary, like the top dog. She calls me and says, Dustin, would you please come to the boss's office? And I said, sure. And I hung up the phone. And as I sat there for a second, I paused because I realized this is Friday at 3:30. Why would they be calling me to the office? This isn't normal. And then I started remembering back before I went on paternity leave that there was some rumors, maybe a couple months before, about rumors or rumblings that there could potentially be layoffs because the department was running low on money. I immediately shook that off. Like, no, this is the government. Nobody gets fired or laid off with the government. I have so much seniority. My bosses love me. It can't be that. So I get up and I walk down the hallway to my boss's office. Now, this hallway isn't necessarily long. It's actually pretty short, but every single step I took, it felt like the hallway got longer and longer and longer. And every single step, my feet felt like they were turning into lead bricks. I could barely walk because the weight of the world started going on my shoulders, because I started realizing, oh my goodness, like this isn't normal. I could potentially lose my job. I mean, I have 4 kids now. What am I going to do? So I get through that hallway and I turn the corner and I see my boss's door is closed. And I look at his secretary, and his secretary says, "Dustin, would you please have a seat?" And sheepishly, she's grinning at me, trying to console me with her eyes, because she knows everything about what's going on. I know nothing about what's going on. So as I'm sitting in that chair, I'm thinking about my family. I'm thinking about my my baby is like 2 weeks, 3 weeks old. And if this job gets taken out from under me, number one, all these years of working a quote unquote career, was that all a waste? And then I started thinking, oh, how am I going to feed my family? Does that make me a failure as a father? Does that make me a failure as a husband, as a man trying to provide for his family? Well, as I'm sitting there, my hands get all clammy, my forehead gets all sweaty, because I'm just getting so anxious about what's going to happen. Then the door to my boss's office opens up, and out walks a lady with a piece of paper in her hand, a coworker of mine. And she is noticeably distraught, noticeably upset, but she's not necessarily crying, but you could tell her world has absolutely been rocked. As she passes by me, my boss says, "Dustin, would you please come into my office?" I go into his office and I get laid off. And remember, this is the government. Nobody gets fired or laid off from the government, but I did. So I take that layoff notice and I walk back to my desk and I sit there and I realize 2 things sitting right then and there. The first one was that I needed to get a job. I need to figure out a way to pay for food and, my mortgage and all that sort of stuff. So I was really blessed, praise the Lord, to be able to find a job in the same county, different department, sheriff's department, doing IT work. It was great. Transferred over, didn't even get laid off. So that was a huge blessing. But the second thing that I realized sitting right then and there, this is something I want everybody to take away, this is what I took away, and everybody needs to do this as well, is that your value is so much more than your job. It's so much more than anybody could ever pay you. And so whenever anybody would ask me the question, "Hey, Dustin, what do you do?" They're basically asking me, and when you get the question asked to you, what value do you put on yourself? Well, I used to say, "Oh, I work for the county. I do IT work." Well, I'm just basically saying my value is my job. Well, I realized sitting right there, the second thing I realized, my value is not in my job. My value comes from my God, from my family, from myself. And so I said from that point forward, because I knew I wanted to be an investor, but I would always I would just say, I'll put it off. From that point forward, I said, I am an investor. Sitting in that chair, I said, no longer will my value ever be from my job. I would tell everybody, now I'm an investor. It may so happen that 100% of my money comes from my job. That's my part-time job. My full-time job, or my business, I'm a full-time investor. So everybody listen to this. You must realize that your value is so much more than anybody could ever pay you. So your boss, and I'll show you how you can understand this. Your boss is only giving you enough money to keep you working without quitting, but not so much money that takes money out of their pocket. So I'll quickly fast forward so I kept buying property after property. After a few years, I had so many properties, I had 30 plus properties. And I was thinking, oh my goodness, I'm making $75,000 a year at this good job where I got transferred over, but I'm losing money working here. So I went to my new boss after a few years of buying property after property. I went to him, I said, "Boss, I'm laying you off." Well, just kind of jokingly, but I said, "I'm done. Here's my 2 weeks notice." And my boss said, "Dustin, what are you going to do?" I said, "I don't have to do anything. I have real estate that makes me money without even working. I don't do anything and make money." And so I ran up the story to tell you this, Joseph. So I walked to my car. So I worked in downtown Fresno. It was about a 1.5 mile walk. I was too frugal to pay for parking. And if you remember that walk, taking that walk down the hallway, felt like my feet were getting lead bricks. When I walked to my car for the last time, I've done it thousands of times, I felt like I was walking on clouds, because I knew I would never, ever need a job again, because I had my real estate that was going to provide for me and my family. And now I literally had my entire life. I was 37 years old when I quit. had my entire life to now move forward. So you probably got a lot of questions, but that was what the catalyst that got me into doing it. And I hope everybody takes that and says, man, my value is so much more than anybody could ever pay me.
Oh yeah. Yeah. What asset class did you focus on first?
So it was not multi, sorry, residential family. So 4 units and below. So I bought a couple duplexes, single family homes. And then I realized that when you get a multifamily, there's a lot more nuances to it, but I love single family homes or residential rental properties.
That's a tough one to get into right now, isn't it? Because of the market being so hot.
If you don't know how to do it and where to look, yes, it's very, very hard. My students and we invest in all over the country, but Midwest, down in the Southeast and in the Florida, the Carolinas and Florida, really great properties, lower prices, higher rents. So if you know where you're looking and what you're looking for, you can do really well. But here's a quick thing I want to add too. The reason why I was able to quit my job was because I focused on making $250 or more from every single property in passive income. That's above all the expenses, above everything in passive income, because it was really great. I just did the math. I said, if I buy one house that makes me $250 a month, that's $3,000 extra dollars a year without working. 10 properties, that would be $2,500 a month in passive income. That'd be $30,000 a year without working. 20 properties is $5,000 a month, $60,000 a year in passive income. I just did the math and I realized I could eventually quit my job. And so that's the thing that we had to realize, is that as we build our business, it replaces our income and takes care of our expenses.
Yeah. Did you get into residential in the beginning because it was the less down for the residential loan?
It was, well, I was trying to get multifamily. In fact, in California, I had a 12 unit that I was really trying to buy, but it was really hard to get the down payment. And I also realized that I would have to have maybe an on-site manager. Maybe I didn't really know what I was doing, but I thought, I have a little bit of money. And I was in California, remember? So I actually flew to Ohio. This is the wrong way to do it. I'll tell you the right way, but this is the wrong way. I flew to Ohio, found a property manager, the first person that said that was breathing, that said they were a property manager, found a realtor, put them together, bought the house, started making me money. Within 6 months, they were stealing from me. So I didn't get deterred, and I'll walk you through the process of how to do it right. But yes, it was single family homes that got me to, and if I would have got deterred back then with that first property manager, I wouldn't be where I am today. So it absolutely works. And as you go one after another, the business builds on itself.
Yeah. Yeah. We own property in Texas, a few other places, but you've got to make sure you find the right property management, because the last multifamily we bought, it was an out-of-state owner, and the property management company was billing them for, I think, 2 free apartments. They were saying that they were paying the manager double what they were actually paying her, and they were just booking that. You've really got to make sure the property management company. That's why I always say, in the beginning, buy within an hour from home so you can drive to it regularly.
Well, I would say I'm not against that, but that's not something that you necessarily need to do. And I'll tell you really quick, Joseph, what we do. So we invest all over the country. Remember, I was in California, started buying Ohio, now Ohio, Texas, and Arizona, where I invest. Plus my students invest all over. But here's the way that we do it. We invest out of state. Like all the 30 plus properties that I own, I've only seen one of them. Like there's no reason to go see them. And I don't even care to go to any of these places where I invest. Now, here's the reason why we're able to do this. We build the business first. Now, let me explain what building the business first looks like. An example. So if you're going to start a convenience store, a convenience store, candy bars and soda machines and stuff like that. If you're going to start a convenience store, you're not going to lease a space, open the doors, and set a box of candy bars in there and hope to run a business. No, you'd go out of business in like 2 seconds. What you would do, though, is you would build the business first. You would get the gondolas. So there's a shelving units that you put all the candy bars on. You would get the countertops. You get the cold storage, fountain machines, bank accounts, cash registers, employees, insurance, all these things before you buy any inventory. Same thing when you're doing investing. What you want to do is you want to build the entire business. Now, your property, if you buy one property, that is not a business. That's not your business. Your business owns inventory, just like the convenience stores owns inventories of candy bars. Your business owns properties. And so what I do is I build the entire business, finding the right property managers, realtors, wholesalers, inspectors, roofers, plumbers, insurance companies, mortgage companies. I build the entire business first, and then I buy the property. And that property is a piece of inventory that we put into the business. That's how we can scale the business so well, is because we build the business first. And the last thing we're going to add one last thing. You don't want to buy a property. Well, this is what most people who teach how to invest in real estate, well, they'll say is find a property, run the numbers, make sure you're making, I don't know, $100 a month in passive income, because you also get appreciation, which is not right. But I invest for passive income. Well, let's say, find a property, run the numbers. Then you find somebody to fix it up. Then you find somebody to lease it. Then you find somebody to manage it. Well, in my opinion, that's almost all backwards. The first thing that we do is we start with inventory, make sure that there's going to be inventory in that city, which, right price point, renting for the right amount, right size, and all that sort of stuff. Then we pause everything, and then we find our property manager. We find the experts literally there on the ground, because Zillow is not an expert. Realtor.com or Redfin or Trulia, like those are not experts. What we do is we hire experts literally on the ground. If you find a property manager that has properties in the area, you go to them and say, hey, property manager, I'm going to buy this house. Here's the address. What are your thoughts? How much can I rent it for? What's the vacancy factor? All these questions. They're going to say, and if they're a good property manager, they'll probably have something close. They'll say, oh, I know that area. I have a property we're managing just like a block away. Well, I know for sure Zillow says it's 1,300, but we couldn't get ours for 1,300. You'll probably get it for 1,200. Just kind of give you an example, because they are experts. They try to get at least, and then they know the actual amount you could rent it for. So long story short, we build the business first. We make sure we hire experts on the ground there. They're the ones that make sure that we do the business right, and we allow them to do everything for us.
Yeah, it's key, because, if you're relying on Zillow, I mean, they just lost how many millions of dollars relying on their
own. Man.
So, all right. Now, what is, like you and I were talking before we started, was, that first property is so hard. What excuses in your head did you come up with to not start investing? Just fear of losing money?
Well, I'm a driven person. Right. And it was my wife. That was more the fear. Like, she had the fear that we were going to
That's a good fear
everything.
to have.
Yes, 100%. Like, I'm gung ho, and she is definitely helping me to scale wisely, right, not getting into too much debt. Like, I started investing in 2006. When I was 37 years old, I eventually quit my job. But the people who were investing in 2006, 2007, and 2008, a lot of them went bankrupt. And the reason why they went bankrupt is because they were hoping for appreciation. They weren't investing for passive income. They might, $25 or $50. I didn't do that because I knew I needed money to provide for my family. So I made sure I was going to make $250 or more in passive income. So when I see the business model, remember, I'm a businessman, and first and foremost, then I'm an investor. But I saw the business model. My inventory is going to be making me money, $250 or more, whether the market goes up, the market goes down, or the market goes sideways. I don't care if the value goes down. I'm going to hold on. Like, if you could watch this on video, you can see my kids in the background. I'm going to literally give these properties to my kids. It's generational wealth that I'm creating. So when the properties I bought in 2006 that went crashing down, now they're right back up, if not double, and my rents are double. So for me, I just saw the business model. But then what I had to do is I had to convince my wife. I had to walk her through all the numbers and show, this is basically a business. Our inventory is going to make us money, whether the market goes up, down, or sideways. But I'll quickly add one more thing. A lot of people say, well, Dustin, with the market crash, won't rents go down? Like, it's actually counter that. What happens is, if the market crashes, people cannot afford their mortgages. They can't be homeowners anymore, which is a bummer. It's really, really too sad and too bad for them. But what does that create for the pool of renters? Renters skyrocket because there's so many people that need to rent. Supply and demand, rents go up. So my rents have literally gone up ever since I bought the property.
It's a good problem to have. How much money did you start with? I mean, I think a lot of people think, oh, I need at least to have, $250,000, $500,000.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Kind of walk us through what you're seeing out there?
Absolutely. So I started personally with $17,000. That's all I took all the bit of money. We were married for 6 months. My wife had money. I didn't have any money. I didn't save. So I took all of her money that we got married with and bought our first property. So that was why it was really, really rough getting our first one. But now, even today, this was obviously back in 2006, 2007. So you might be thinking today, well, today, don't we need $100,000, $200,000? No, you absolutely don't. Now, if you're living on the coastline, you might not realize this, coastline of America. You might not realize this, but there are properties that are still selling for $80,000, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000, $100,000, and they make good rents. Now, here's the big thing. A lot of people might say, I wouldn't want to buy those properties for $60,000 because I wouldn't want to live there. I mean, it's probably a bad property. The reason why we are able to get over that hurdle in our brains to say, yes, I can buy this, is because remember, this is inventory. We may never live there, let alone even visit there. So other people, though, live there. People have to live everywhere. They might love living there. It might be perfect for them. Just because it's not perfect for us doesn't mean it's not perfect for other people. Just like in my convenience store, I'm not going to eat every single candy bar inside there, but other people will. But so you put that in your business. So when it comes to investing all over the country, we need to realize that as we are, and this is something with my students, I usually say, and I don't take on any coaching students that have less than $10,000 because it's hard to do it. You can invest with low and no money down, but it's really, really hard. Once you get that $10,000 and over mark, we can do a lot more. We have a lot more options, which we love to have options as investors. So what I say, Midwest, down into the Carolinas and into Florida, you're going to find some great properties that you can use at $10,000, maybe $15,000 to buy your first property. Get a quick win. This is something I do with all my students. I try to get them a quick win. Let's say take that $10,000 and buy a $60,000 house that makes you a minimum of $250 a month in passive income. That gets the ball rolling. And then over time, equity start building up. You save that $250 a month. You keep putting that away to buy your next property. This is not a get rich quick scheme. This is a get wealthy plan. Year over year, you buy your first house your first year. Second house, you maybe buy another one. Second or third year, you buy two more. So you got four total. Your fourth year, you buy two, maybe three more. You just keep scaling it up. For me, it was literally total of 7 years to eventually get 20, 30 properties. And I was like, man, I could quit. I've had students literally in 2 years or 3 years, their circumstances, however they did it. Actually, I'll tell you with this one thing, Joseph. In 2019, December of 2019, like 3 months before COVID happened, I brought on a student and I started helping him how to invest in real estate from December of 2019, all through COVID of 2020. In 18 months, he has acquired 22 units, basically 11 duplexes, 22 units. He has like $7,000 or $8,000 a month in passive income in 18 months. So it's 100. And I think he started with like maybe $40,000 and just kept rolling it over. So there's so many strategies. We just need to know what they are and how to implement them in the business.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And now, how long do you guys hold? Do you just forever hold on forever, or do you guys flip after a certain amount of time?
So that's a good thought. Now, 100%. When I sell it, I don't get that income anymore. Plus, I don't get depreciation. Obviously, depreciation eventually goes away. Depreciation is fantastic for your taxes. But here's the thought. We might think to sell a property to get the equity to buy another property, which is a great idea. Don't get me wrong. It's a really, really good idea. You'll get some taxes and stuff like that. But how about doing this instead? Refinance the property, pull that cash out, tax-free loans, and then use the equity that you pulled out in the tax-free refinance to buy more property. So you're utilizing the equity. You still have the property making you money. You have this new property making you money, and it's a tax-free loan. But here's a great thing that everybody needs to realize. I don't pay my taxes. I don't pay my insurance. I don't pay my mortgage. I don't pay my property manager. I don't pay for repairs. I don't pay any of that stuff. My tenants pay for all that. Now, it so happens the money comes through me, into me, and then I pay it out, but I don't have to get a job to try to hire a property manager. I account for all of those. Remember, it's a business. Those are all expenses. We account for those before we buy the property so that we have those accounted for. So any mortgage that we take on, that's paid for by the tenant. Every single expense is paid for, and then we make passive income on top of that.
Yeah, it's great. I talked to some people that flip, and they'll build up a certain amount of homes, and they then sell them all because they're all exchange them. They exchange them into triple net or something like that. But it's all just deciding your path, I guess. There's one
risk
thing
tolerance too. Absolutely.
Yeah. There's one thing that I find that a lot of new investors do, and they watch too much of you and I, right? Instead of going out and working a few extra hours and saving that money or getting a second job. I know a lady that took a second job at night, and she just took that money and put it away. And then she bought her first house with that. And, it's overcoming these obstacles that we put in front of ourselves that aren't necessarily, we've got to just figure out a way to get around them. And sometimes, you can overlearn. And, we had an agent, we have a commercial brokerage company here in LA, and he would just analysis paralysis, right? He'd get a deal and he would analyze it and analyze it. And, you've got to find a reason to move forward. And, you're going to do a lot better if you do it like you're saying, do that legwork up front, know that this is a good investment. And then it's going to be a really, really great way to get your path started. But
absolutely.
So you guys are doing it. Go ahead.
Let me add one quick thing that really helped a lot of people get over the hurdle. So if you remember that student that I had that in 18 months bought 22 units, well, his very, very first property, analysis paralysis. I mean, it was so bad. And he brought one property before me and I said, hey, let's analyze it. We looked at everything. And I said, this is a good property. Like, I think this would be great property. After like a couple of days of him saying no, or, I needed more, anyways, just analysis paralysis. I said, Benjamin, if you don't buy this, give it to me. I'm going to buy it. And that was the catalyst that he said, wow, well, if Dustin's going to buy it, I better do it. And so that was literally a grand slam. He paid $50,000 and then refinanced it, pulled all his cash back out. He's making, I want to say, about $800 a month from that one property and doesn't have any of his own money in the property. Long story short, it really helps. Like, you listen to your show, Joseph, or people listen to your show, and really get the idea that it's possible. We just need to get out of our own way, maybe get some help, and then you can absolutely do it.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of it. And you're right. I was in St. Paul, Nebraska. It's a town of 2,200 people. And I grew up in Wallback, Nebraska, but it's about 15 miles away. But, homes there were selling for $60,000, $70,000, but they're turning around, doing a little bit of work, fixing them up, even adding like a patio in the back, and the rents they're getting, I couldn't believe it. But people were driving to Grand Island, Nebraska. That's about 30 some miles away. And, they were living in a small town, got that small town vibe, driving into, Grand Island, I don't know if it's even 60,000, but that in itself is from a small town, I guess, compared to where we live. But, the money is there. If you buy it right, the money's there. And, there's a housing shortage around this country. So it's a great way to go. But all right, let's get your number one tip. What have you got for these new investors?
The number one tip is to invest, and I've talked about it a little bit over and over, but invest for passive income. Yeah. That's the number one thing. Like, appreciation is great. I love appreciation because I can cash out the equity with a refinance, tax-free, buy more properties. Appreciation is great, but that's if I ever sell the property too. But if you invest for passive income, and like I said, a minimum of $250 or more, if you do that, you're going to have a buffer. This is the big thing. Remember, I account for all my expenses before I buy the property, vacancy factor, repairs, capital expenses, all that sort of stuff. But there are times that a furnace goes out. You're like, oh my goodness, I wasn't prepared for that. Well, if you're only making $100 a month, $100 a month is only $1,200 a year. And if something goes out like that, there goes all your passive income. How are you going to feed your family? So we do $250 a month, $3,000 a year. That goes out so much further as a huge buffer on top of everything we've already accounted for. So definitely invest for passive income, not for appreciation, because in the end, what happens if it crashes? If it crashes, we are going to lose money. People are going to be going bankrupt like they did. I invest for passive income. Like I said, whether the market went up, down, or sideways, I make money.
Yeah, I look at some of these larger investors that are investing for appreciation, and around the Midwest, you don't see a lot of appreciation. You're seeing a couple points a year at the best, maybe. So cash flow. I'm a cash flow investor as well. Cash flow and good reserves just in case. But
100%.
Yeah, Dustin, thank you for coming on today. How do they master passive income? Tell us a little bit about your podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, I do have my podcast. Oh, I also have a free course that I can give to everybody. Do you mind if I share that with everybody?
Of course, go ahead.
Awesome. So I have a free course, literally walk you through everything I explained in detail, how to build a business, make sure you're making the right amount of passive income, make sure you're scaling your business to be able to quit your job. If you text the word rental, RENTAL, to 33777, rental to 33777, I'll literally give that to you. Or you can go to masterpassiveincome.com/free course. All one word /free course. But then again, I also have, like you said, Joseph, I have my podcast, Master Passive Income podcast. I don't do really don't do interviews. It's literally just me teaching how to do the same thing with my YouTube channel. So you can find me both places, plus masterpassiveincome.com. So anyways, you can find me all over the place, but I'd just love to help so many people change their lives, because it's changed my life. It's just great to be able to help people now.
Well, you've got a beautiful family in that photo behind you. So you've done very, very, very well on all aspects of your life. But Dustin, thank you very much for coming on today. And for those of you watching, thank you for tuning in today. And if you haven't done so, make sure you subscribe, and we'll see you every Tuesday and Thursday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So, make sure you subscribe and like this video. Thank you.